What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of the Minotaur Hotel, where we have a strange new sleazebag in a hotel and I don't trust him. Later in the night, I forgot he still doesn't have a shirt on. Nono fetches your and Asterion's order. You didn't even have to correct his notes this time, or remind him not to walk to the kitchen on all floors. That's a health code violation if you do that, because now your hands are dirty. Jean-Luc, Jean-Marie, Clement, that fucker, whoever he is, does not look thrilled with this, and neither does my demon friend that just moved into the hotel. Asterion plays with a few crystals from the jar you had left on what seems to have become your designated table. One of my cats is playing with a frog toy. Peculiar day, wouldn't you say? Not every day we get a demon or a Frenchman? I'm gonna go with a Frenchman. Do you remember Mr. Robert mentioning that he gave someone a ride here? After you left, he came in, and there's something that doesn't sit right with me about him.
Rukari, that...
The Minotaur's ears twitch. He cannot contain a groan as he scratches at his cheek.
Could it be that you are British? Is that why you do not like him?
I'm sorry, British? That's what we're going with?
Master John Marie was a good and kind lord, and he told me all about France. That it was a beautiful land, rich with culture. I assure you that Frenchmen are not all bad, and he was the proof of it.
Wait, what? No, that's not what I meant at all. I don't have any problem with French people. My point is that he's an odd Frenchman. His name is strange. He's volatile, mercurial even. His chin unsettled. Listen, there's something wrong with that chin there. He's volatile, mercurial even. His attitude's peculiar. He bounced right back from ride-sharing with a demon in just a couple of glib one-liners. It's weird.
Ah, I see. That can be explained, my lord. This land does have a certain effect on the people it brings. For many centuries, I can't speak. For many centuries, have I believed that the gods engineered it to pacify humans against the horrors of unsightly things. Otherwise, men would panic upon seeing me, and there would never be any volunteer to take on the role of master.
There's something is going on in the background. I don't like his expression. I'm really worried about the demon. He looks concerned. Maybe you're right. That would explain why no one seems particularly surprised by Luke's shenanigans. But there's one thing you're wrong about. You aren't the least bit unsightly. I mean, look at that adorable little face. How could you ever be scared of that? It was the previous masters who had something wrong with them.
But my sentence.
Forget about your sentence. You look fine. Amazing, even. Are we just blatantly flirting with him now? And if you keep insisting otherwise, I'll make you wear a crown of flowers to show it. He groans, raising a hand to cover his face and hide the blush spreading upon his cheeks, but the Minotaur cannot keep a smile from stretching his lips.
Perhaps the gods truly have sent you to torture me, Rukari.
You're damn right. That's right, I've come to scourge you with praise and kindness until you confess just how amazing you are. It's the worst kind of torture there is, being made to accept compliments about yourself.
What a wretched fate.
But anyway, I think we got off track. All I'm saying is, this Frenchman in particular, his attitude rubs me the wrong way. Very volatile guy. I didn't want to bring his name up just yet. I didn't want to trigger anything. Your conversation is cut short as you and Asterion notice a duo approaching your table. None other than Jean-Marie the delivery man and Robert the demon. You and Asterion straighten up.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Bonsoir. What a fine night you have so graciously provided. I still don't know how to do a French accent. Robert and I couldn't let it pass without taking a minute to compliment your hospitality. I don't know what this voice is. What does French sound like?
Indeed, you are leading a fine establishment, Mr. Rukari. It's truly a sight to behold.
That is very kind of you. It's a relief to hear such words, and I'll take them as a confirmation that we are succeeding in our mission. That said, I can't lose the chance to clarify, Mr. Robert. My dear friend Asterion here is co-owner of this hotel. Truth be told, he's both the brains and brawn of the operation. More often than not, I find myself playing only a supporting role in facilitating his good work. Once more, your kindness is dearly welcome, but it should be directed at my partner instead of me.
Is that so? I stand corrected then. Mr. Asterion, I am thoroughly impressed with the structure you have here. You are very kind, sir. Would the two of you care to join us for dinner tonight?
Don't mind if I do. Literally, the only voice I can think of is Jean-Bob from Swan Princess, and even then, it's been a while since I've seen that movie.
Tell me, who designed this place? Before coming to this lounge, I took a stroll, and it seemed as if the hallways stretched on forever, branching left and right every half a dozen doors. Common sense told me I'd become irreversibly lost if I wandered too far, but I'd find my way back to the reception in the blink of an eye if I so much as thought about returning. How was this effect achieved? I absolutely must know more about the architect behind it. The architect, it was my...
He grasps the words that he wishes to say, somewhat lost in possibilities. He directs only the briefest glance towards you. The Minotaur searches your face for disapproval, jealousy, pride, but finding nothing of the sort, Asterion returns his gaze to the two guests.
The hotel is very old. It was a distant ancestor of mine who engineered it, but its latest iteration is my own design, and a work in progress at that. As for the hallways, I do wish I could share the knowledge with you, but my forefathers would not look kindly on it. How unfortunate. I am sure many a mathematician would appreciate learning your forefathers' methods, but your rejection is easy to accept. If you'll not think it presumptuous, I shall consider it a secret of Minotaurs. How fitting it is that in these modern days, so destitute of wonder, your kind would still command ancient traditions. And to think that the whole world of mythical beings, even I, believed your lineage to be only a legend.
Pardon? Buddy, if you'll excuse my bluntness, you're a demon. Likewise, if I understood correctly, you were talking about this place being some kind of infinite hotel. And then you say mythical people think minotaurs are just a legend. How can that be? Isn't that quite the hypocrisy? I'm sorry.
It may seem so at first, surely. There are many kinds of supernatural beings roaming the world even today, hidden thanks to the charms. But that does not mean every legend, myth, or folktale is about some unseen species. For centuries now, among scholars of fantastical nature, it has been firmly believed that minotaurs are just a myth. That the old Greek legend... Cretan. It is a Cretan legend. Pardon me, I suppose that could be a point of pride for you, yes? Very well, it is believed that the Cretan legend of the Minotaur hid a more mundane truth. One of the hypotheses is that the so-called Minotaur was merely a priest or holy man who took on a helmet shaped as a bull's head during certain ceremonies or sacrifices. As for the story of how he came to be, well, as the myth goes, the Cretan queen took the bull's lurch with the assistance of crafty Daedalus, correct? But the motif of a divine woman consorting with a divinely created bull is recurring in the Minoan royal lineage, so it is speculated that this tale is merely allegorical. I could pronounce words. Oh heavens, I'm rambling. I'm sure our fine host knows much more about the topic than anyone ever could, though it would not surprise me if he's somehow bound to secrecy.
Asterion's nostrils flare as he lets out a long breath of air. You can just notice him biting his lip, but overall there doesn't seem to be distress in him.
My family has its own version of the story, one which I believe to be very accurate. The Minoan royal lineage was closely tied to the gods in many ways. It was common over the generations for the Olympians to take on the transitory form of a bull, to bless that generation's queen with a special heir. To summon a god, the king would offer his own blood in what was a holy and revered ritual. It was said that the child descended from both the king, whose blood had initiated the rite, and from the god who answered his call.
Wait, so if queens often did that as a respected ritual, what made Pasiphae's actions any different?
There was no blessing in her case, only a curse.
Asterion's eyes wander to yours. You blink and he does the same, with a face as stoic as stone.
Fascinating, and I take it you are sure this is to the true story. Has your family kept records?
There's no doubt about it, Robert. Look at his eyes. Never has a man said truer words.
Yes, this is the truth, as accurate as an arrow is sharp. Oh, this night is getting better with each passing minute. I will love my vacation here, I can already tell. I am glad to hear that, more than you might imagine. It has been such a short while since we reopened the hotel, but it's brimming with life already. People seem so happy to be here. Sometimes it is hard to accept that things are going so well.
You'd better get used to it, buddy. If it's up to you and me, they'll just keep getting better and better.
Yes, they will. I can see that.
It would seem Rome really was built in a day if Romulus and Remus here got it set up so quickly. But if you care to hear, I have a suggestion for how to improve your fine establishment. It's that thing, Robert, the one we talked about just a minute ago.
Oh, yes, that is a good suggestion. That is a good suggestion.
Here it goes then. There's no sign, nothing in front of the place telling people what it is or what it's called. Does this hotel even have a name? So far, I've only heard people referring to it as, well, the hotel. Well, that's a valid complaint. We've been so busy lately with getting the essentials in order that I never even thought about that. So focused on your work, yet you forget to give the place a name? If you'd care to hear my thoughts again, I'd say Rukari's Hotel would suffice. Simple and to the point, wouldn't you say? I don't think I have it in me to do something like that. Honestly, it'd be way too gaudy for my tastes. Asterion, what's the tradition around here for that?
The owner is allowed to rename the hotel as he sees fit, which is made official through a customary celebration. Rukari's Hotel would not be in any way unusual.
It may not be unusual, but it remains gaudy and creatively bankrupt. We can do better. Clearly, it's the Minotaur Hotel. That's the title.
I thought the name was Minotaur Hotel. That's the Wi-Fi network's name.
Oh, huh. You and Asterion stare at one another. The Minotaur, perhaps without thinking, puts a hand on his bicep where the laurel wreath sits.
Rukari.
Wait, there's Wi-Fi? What's the password?
It's Networksdirkstergzungzigsetz with a capital N. Disgusting little thing, that is.
Network Enforcement Act? Let's see, that isn't working for me.
Let me type it for you.
Asterion bites his lower lip.
Are you...
And just what if I am?
honeyed tongue?
Guilty as charged. So, Minotaur Hotel?
Sovereign is the will of the partner, co-owner.
Now we're talking. Will you guide me in setting up that renaming ceremony you were talking about?
Of course.
See, I'm curious. Just now, Robert told me the password and I heard it in French, but he typed some kind of German abomination.
Pardon my lack of manners. The Netzwerk Durchsetzungsgesetz truly is an unsightly piece of legislation, not appropriate to discuss amongst such fine company.
He just did it again! Wait, I think I get it now. When we were in the car, we talked in English, but as soon as the landscape changed, I noticed Robert started speaking a very eloquent dialect of French. Yes, there are many magical things about this place, one of which is how it translates everything people say and write. You probably heard Robert speaking French after the two of you crossed over into this realm.
Jean, I'm from Geneva. I speak French. You could have just asked.
Oh, well, I didn't want to assume. Still, there's yet another fantastical thing to this incomprehensible location, I suppose. Now, if I may ask another question. When you say he's your partner, in what way do you mean it exactly? I wonder if there's a little linguistic ambiguity this place isn't picking up on.
Excuse me?
Oh, it's just the two of you seem so very close. I thought for a second that... Well...
I am sorry, I still don't understand.
The question was directed at Asterion, but you intervened to clarify. Asterion and I are business partners. That is how you should interpret his word choice. That I understand, but still, you two are quite close, is what I'm saying.
Jean, your intentions may be kind, but some would consider this line of questioning inappropriate.
Thank you, Robert. I appreciate your decorum. Sir, you have earned your sweater vest.
I don't recall either Asterion or Rukari mentioning their sexual orientations. For all we know, they may not be compatible in the first place. Even if they are, commenting on such matters may still be unwelcome. And that doesn't even touch on, well, Asterion being a Minotaur and Rukari being a human.
Midway through Robert's speech, Asterion leans closer to you and whispers,
Rukari, what are they talking about?
Don't worry about it. I'll explain later. Maybe. I don't know if I could pull that off, buddy. I'm sorry. He nods. Jean, meanwhile, looks away as he gets lost in thought. Perhaps you are right. It was pretty rude of me for the most part. You know how it is. Talking about sexuality is less taboo where I'm from. I admit I may have been too forward in that regard. But when it comes to good Asterion here being a Minotaur, why should that be an impediment? Impediment? I can't speak anymore. God dang it. I may not know much about what the traditions are like with you, shall we say, mystical beings, but if two consenting adults love each other, nothing else matters, right? Seeing you from the front is disturbing, sir. I don't know why, it just is. I had a kid, you know. He was born different, and from the day he was born, there were people who couldn't look past it. Not everyone, though. There were quite a few blessed souls who could see through his differences and like him for who he was. He's no longer with us. But that grace, the blessedness of being able to love even different souls, that is what I carry with me to this day. So what if Asterion... What is German. So what if Asterion's a Minotaur? That shouldn't get in the way of love. Asterion shakes his head, then covers his mouth to hide a dry, nervous cough. For a split second, your hand almost reaches out to pat him on the back, but Jean's words make you painfully aware of how every inch separating the two of you is a sea of meaning.
To make it clear, I do not disagree with you. However, I don't think the topic is appropriate at the moment, Jean. I would prefer we change the subject, yes.
Very well, I'll let it go, with the caveat that I still stand by what I said.
Of course.
You and Asterion remain quiet, the space between you suddenly raw and awkward. Robert takes a chance to check his phone, while Jean looks around the room. Oh good, our waiter has returned. The silence is broken by Nono bringing you your plates.
So, do you follow the custom of saying grace before meals? Grace? I would not put it like that, but every day I make an offering to the gods. Gods? Which ones? The 12 Olympians, of course, plus Lady Hestia and Lord Hades.
Oh, typical. I should have guessed a Minotaur would worship the Greek gods.
Don't say it like that. It sounds so dismissive. I, for one, would appreciate learning more about his beliefs.
This entire trip is just Robert saying, Jean, you can't say that in public.
Say, Mr. Asterion, would you be willing to demonstrate how an offering is done? Of course, it would be an honor.
I'd never have guessed anyone would still worship those old gods. It's been thousands of years, after all. For how long have you been praying to them?
Since I was a boy, my lineage has prayed to them for thousands of years, and I was taught to do the same at an early age.
But do you really believe they exist? Isn't it absurd in this day and age to hold on to such archaic ideals? Sorry, I had to burp.
No, I am sure they exist. How else could I be here tonight if not for them?
Yes, but what is
Shush, Jean, let the man be. You're distracting him from the offering.
Jeez, okay, big guy, I'll shut my mouth. Please do, dear God. Asterion rises from his seat, back as unshakable as a fortress walls and as wide as a step. He hums a song all too familiar, summoning a bottle of wine. You and the hotel respond in unison. But before proceeding towards the hearth, he glances at you, the corners of his lips curled into fine crescents.
Would you care to join me, Rukari? It would be an honor sharing this with you.
You rise just as high as the Minotaur did, and together you stride to Hestia's fire. He kneels by the hearth, and you do the same. When he raises his arms to the ceiling, however, a sense of shame stops you from bringing yours as high as his. Conversation and laughter, cutlery clinking against dishes, and glasses clanking on the wooden tables, every little hum and song of life, it all fades as though velvet surrounded you and Asterion. You are left only with your and your partner's breathing and the crackling of the fire. All the light except that which it offers grows dim.
Respect the ones in need of gifts of friendship and home.
You look to the side, and Asterion too is looking at you.
You should have the honors. To which god shall we dedicate this offering?
Oh, I get a whole list of options. I'm not dedicating it to Zeus. Listen, if you've read a shred of Greek mythology, you don't dedicate things to Zeus. Poseidon, also probably not good. Hades, actually potentially a good option. Hestia, one of my favorites personally. Demeter, depending, can be good, can be bad. Athena, I do love, but we're not big on the warfare. Hermes is fine. Aphrodite has issues. Ares definitely has issues. Dionysus just likes to party. He's actually a really good dad. Hera has issues. Lots of issues. mostly revolving around this issue. Apollo, Artemis, and starry Hephaestus of the strong arm and crafty hand. No, I didn't mean to do that. Let's go for Hades. Hades of the Good Counsel, Lord of the Dead, sure.
Idonius, ruler of many, son of Kronos, worshipped under many names, with your dread queen of all that lives and moves, blessed are those whom you love freely. Grant us the knowledge of mysteries and the peace of quiet mists.
Asterion lays a finger over the wine bottle's opening and lets out only a trickle of wine, first to pacify the ashes around the flame and only later to battle against its might.
We shall remember you, tonight and always. In our hearth you shall find wine, and if your mercy would grant us excellent in all things, we shall tell tales and sing songs of your feats.
The velvet surrounding you dissipates, allowing sound to break through once more.
What a fine ceremony. I couldn't make out everything you said, but I'm glad I got to witness such an ancient form of worship. You are too kind, Robert. It is not every night I get an audience for one of my simplest duties. If you enjoy my culture so much, you are welcome to ask all your questions. Beware with what you say. I might just take the offer, and we'll be here all night.
That's adorable. I like Robert. Robert is fine. Jean, stay away. You have problems. The night goes on. You, Asterion, and the guests, for these few hours you live without regret. Why is I feeling they're gonna change soon? Can I please put a shirt back on you? Whatever memory you might muster of Jean and his delivery fades. But his does not. When you and the Minotaur leave to return to your quarters, he follows. Hey, you two, don't you go just yet. This was a terrific night we had, lads, but make no mistake, I came here for work. This is the reason why I came all the way here. First-class delivery. Jean hands you an envelope. Its surface is so finely preserved, corners so sharp and uncreased, that you would not be surprised if it had only just left its sender's desk. Do you know who sent it? Can't say I do, lad. Someone might have mentioned the client's name, but I can't recall it. It came from headquarters just like this, and with a set of instructions on how to get here, which weren't of much help, I can tell you that. I was, however, told that if you have any response to this message, I should take it back to headquarters, and it'll get shipped back. Asterion affords you privacy by turning around while you dig a finger into the crisp paper. The letter itself, an A4 white sheet, has not been graced with such divine perfection. It is folded 3 times, but unevenly and with its corners rumpled. You unfold it. It takes you a few seconds to recognize the symbols on the paper as they swim around and stitch themselves together with aid from the hotel's translation. You stare at it, waiting for its contents to reveal themselves, but the letters melt away and become unconnected scribbles. You force your gaze further, and by your command, the letter's contents coalesce back into their original shape. What lies revealed to you is an incomprehensible mess of childlike scribbles, flowing first from cursive-like characters to snaking lines, and then into something like the ridges of mountains on the horizon. For a moment, you consider the possibility that this may be a map, but were that the case, the land it depicts is one and the same with the sea around it, like a ruptured cell spilling its contents. When that fails, you fear for your mental health. Could you be having a stroke, rendering you incapable of reading and piecing things together? But the gods are not so terrible. Your brain is fine, and the truth of the matter is that this letter, for the most part, contains only incomprehensible scribbles. Take note, however, for at the very bottom of this wasteful exercise, there are 2 lines which your mind and the hotel can interpret. I'm sorry for not being good enough. P. So this has to do with the peacock, his grandfather. Asterion gives you a sideways glance. You turn to him. There's not much to this. It's mostly gibberish. The hotel's translation can't make any sense of it. Whoever wrote this wasn't all there in the head when he... It was probably written by the senile old peacock. The gods are terrible indeed. Forgotten evils worm their way in once more.
Rukari, is everything all right?
This is a letter from Well, it's a bit upsetting. I think it's from the man who gave me the hotel's deed.
Oh. Clement.
You notice just the slightest slump in his shoulders, then a snort as goosebumps climb up the Minotaur's spine. His fur, short as it may be, stands on end as he scratches the back of his head.
He is still around, then.
His fingers dig in, like a hand digging away at dry soil. His scratching is louder than either your breathing or the distant sounds of ruckus from the lounge.
What does he say?
A bunch of scribbles. The hotel can't make sense of it. He was going senile when I met him, and I assume he wasn't fully conscious when he wrote this either. There's just one thing I can read here, but it may be upsetting. Are you sure you want to hear it? For a moment, as brief as it takes for one's mind to realize the wrongness of what it sees, Asterion's eyes turn dark and bullish. It is comfortable to forget that Asterion's bovine nature runs deeper than his skin alone. His head has slowly dropped over these past few moments. His neck, however, remains stiff and tight. This is the face of a bull about to charge. Featureless, lacking, cornered, blank. He does not answer your question, and although a part of you may believe he indeed does not wish to hear it, for whatever reason you say it, word by word. I'm sorry for not being good enough. It's signed with P. Clement. Oh, that's right. I recall now the name. That's the name the headquarters mentioned. Clement, a Frenchman, correct? Oh, sorry. It would seem I'm interrupting something. I will take my leave now. Have a good night, you two. You are such a fucking problem maker. With him gone, you take a step towards Asterion. Your hand almost rises to touch his arm, but the Minotaur's scorching gaze indicates that contact may not be welcome. You stand there, closer but distant, suspended in the time it takes for a man's mind to chew through a bone.
He is alive.
So it would seem. Although his mind might not be there anymore.
Rended from himself. Old age may separate soul from body long before death itself. Existing halfway is wretched. Zeus takes half the goodness out of a man when...
The Minotaur swallows, then breathes in hitches through his teeth. There's just a flicker in his eyes to signal a plea for help. You cover the last stretch and hug him. You gather the man, you gather the bull, you gather the friend unto himself as you enfold him to try and mend the broken pieces. The pressure from within threatens to boil over. You squeeze, harder, and the more you do, the less claw-like his hands become.
Half the goodness.
With your face buried in his chest, you cannot see, but the hallway echoes the snaps of his tail and ears, followed then by the beat of his hooves as he shifts left and right. Poor guy. He does not hug you back. His heavy head leans hard onto your own, onto your shoulder. His hooves don't stop shuffling, even while his arms remain still. His head is monstrously heavy. Or is he bearing down on you? He curls around you in between snorts and grunts. You hold harder, lest all the pressure inside boil him alive, and in turn your friend trembles. It feels as though every cord of muscle in him could not be drawn tighter. He seems to fight against struggling away. Settle down. Stop this. Oh my goodness. Oh my lord, he is having a panic attack, and I cannot keep up with all of this horrible stuff. Yeah, you say it's fine. Oh my god, if he went away, you could break your fist on the plaster, shatter the bones, say it is fine. Breathe, you dumble, breathe and hold it. God, Zeus, Hestia, Poseidon, please don't, not this, not now. So much just happened, so many horrible things. There are no sobs or hiccups. If one were to wish a heroic moment here, pain seldom makes a noble and beautiful martyr. No, this grief makes monsters out of men, and if one is to find beauty here, it is because of the man, not for his suffering. Hands squeezed into claws, back hunched over you as you hug tighter and tighter, jaw tensed. Clement, what goes through his mind to send a letter now of all times? Shouldn't one such as he have the shame and grace to die far away? The Minotaur's hands, only half gnarled shut, press against your sides in stiff and confused jerks. He's not coming back. I won't allow it. Asterion snorts, then brings a hoof crashing down on the tiled floor. You look up and find his eyes, inches from yours, dry as a desert. This is not sadness. Let's go home. He complies. By hand you guide him. Oh, Jesus Christ, I knew that Frenchman was nothing but trouble. Evening, you gather back all that daunting day has torn asunder. Late as it may be, you do not command Asterion to go to his room. This is not the state of someone who should handle themselves alone. Instead, you sit on the couch, and with concentrated movements, he sets himself down. He lies on his side. He does not look, but his head is a few mere inches from your lap. It is an awkward position, but he does not move or adjust himself. Every minute or so, he strains to glance up at you. His gaze is less guarded and direct now. It is empty, however, bereft. You look down at your lap as that same emotion rears its head in you. Time passes, and nothing else comes until you speak. Talk to me, Asterion. Please. His eyes turn away from you.
No.
If it's okay, would you look at me? He grumbles, tail thrashing behind him, and then snorts. Asterion keeps staring at some point far away for half a minute more before giving you a look, albeit wandering. His eyes dart to anywhere but your own. You're safe, that I can promise you. I won't hurt you or send you out, and I won't let in anyone who might threaten you. No harm will come to you, and together we will pull through whatever comes to pass. I won't let anything bad happen. The hotel and all its guests are safe. We're partners, and we can overcome anything if we both set our minds to it. But I need something from you to accomplish our mission. I need us to talk about our emotions. If you'd rather not do it now, I understand, but I think it might do you good. What do you say? He turns away from you again, finally adjusts himself, is still for long enough that you almost take that as his answer. At last, however, his horn scratches the sofa as he nods. Good. Before we start, would it be okay if I came closer? You could lay your head on my lap. He grunts and curls up tighter, then goes still once more. His eyes are dulled, movements uncoordinated. It is without turning towards you that he pushes himself closer, hands flat against the couch as if his fingers are numb. His head is heavy, but a brief readjustment fits you and him together, like a pair of seashells stacked. He is frozen at first. Every movement of his fingers and lungful of air comes in bursts and twitches. But memories of childhood, common across thousands of years, spring forth. You lay a hand on his head and tidy his fur. Short as it may be, it can still rebel, but 2 or 3 caresses are enough to straighten up the back of his neck, and then you explore between his horns. The fur here is longer, a tad closer to human hair, better to sink your fingers into. Do all children enjoy this? A parent, a sibling, or a friend upon whose lap they can find comfort? And do all those who benefit from it grow to share it with others? Running a hand over a friend's head, what a dear old gesture. One may be forgiven for doing it without asking permission, as long as he keeps himself quiet. Be very silent now. Let the man's breathing settle, until it's less like a struggle and more like its usual rhythm. If another sound comes, a sniffle or snort, do not inquire. Know your place. He'll take all the time he needs. Meanwhile, you can ponder some great questions yourself, such as whether or not all humans could, perhaps should, share a sense of borderless fraternity. Or perhaps you should ponder your own emotions, the multitude of affections a man may feel for another. While these thoughts dance, Asterion reacquaints himself with sound, flicks his ears in unison, swishes his tail, readjusts his head and legs into a more comfortable position. In response, you hum. First the Seculos epitaph he taught you, and then all the songs you remember from his concert. And when those are over, you go on with a nameless melody you once heard from a piano, or perhaps from an acoustic guitar. Songs fill the void until Asterion is ready to take on the task. And I think we're going to let Asterion talk and have this conversation in the next episode. I just realized that it's like getting a bit long, and I don't want to carry this episode on too long because I still have to get edited and everything, but we're gonna deal with all the emotional shit next time. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you're enjoying this series. I gotta admit, this is a very beautifully written visual novel. Like, props to the author for just having a very poetic way of writing the narration for this. I greatly appreciate it, and we are going to figure out what is on Asterion's mind next time. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next episode. Goodbye!